here, I'm gonna go ahead and download this as an Excel file just because it's easier for me to work on Excel just because I don't really know the shortcuts and all that stuff for Google Sheets as much. But if you know how to do all this in Google Sheets, that's fine. You don't really have to do this. It'll just be easier for me to show you here. So we'll just open this up in Excel. Now, how familiar are you guys with Excel? Have you had some experience with it?
Yes, some experience, but not an expert for it.
An expert is a whole other thing, man. I'm not an expert in Excel. You know, the amount of stuff that one can do with Excel is unbelievable. And so, you know, what I'm looking for is, you know, just a few things like, you know, how to write formulas like this equals that and blah blah blah, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. How about anchoring? Like if I do this and this whole business of putting dollar signs on there, that's familiar.
Yes.
Okay, good. Right. So you got, those are anchors. You got formulas. That's good. How about filters? Okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and filter all of these. Right. So we got that. And we won't have to talk about that. So those will be the major ones. I'm going to shorten this a little bit so we can see more. Is that too small or is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, right, so we got a lot of stuff here, and you've been kind of going through and pulling stuff out of text and then sorting it into these different categories, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to widen all of these columns so we can see a little bit about what's going on a little bit easier, right? So, okay, all right, there we go. All right, so what we ultimately want to do is we want to have a database that has the same information in here, right? And the information that we're putting in here is really the type of stuff that we're going to want to search by, right? So when we're talking about how to sort and how to search and how to browse and all of these things, right? So that's what,
I see.
You know, right? So you can say, okay, you know, which organization, right? So you can do that, and so you know, you can look at it this way and say, oh, here's all the organizations that are there, right? Here's all the, right? So now as you start looking at here, you realize, oh, wait a second, we need to do something here, right? You want to kind of standardize those. So go down and make those all the same, right? There you go. Right, that sort of thing. You don't want that to be those to be different, right? So you'll go down and work some of those things out, and then you know we go around back and forth and keep doing this, right? So we want to be able to look at programs. We want to be able to sort by program somehow if we can, right? Okay, right, da da da. The programs might have different names, but that's fine. I mean, we're going to need that. So the two things here is, you know, capturing whatever information there is, but really try to pay attention to how are we going to use these, how are we going to use this data to sort and to find and to browse, you know, and to make it user friendly, right? Now,
You mean in the website, right?
On the website or however we're going to use it, right? I mean, you know, it could be just this table if you want, right? You know, this is the simplest version of it. It could be, oh, here's your table, there's your database, go deal with it, right? But you know, we can make it more user friendly. But target is definitely going to be one of the main things we want to think about, right? So you know, so we want to see, look, if you're a restaurant, you want to be able to find restaurants and whatever, you know, that sort of thing, right? So so that's definitely something you want to do. Now, when you do this, you find something like this, right? You want to take probably this away, so it's standardized on small business, right there, and that's why we have this note category. Where is it? Contact, required materials, right? Eligibility, notes. So the note column I put in there is just for like random stuff that I don't know where else to put it for now, right? And then I'll go back and kind of work on this, right? Now, I don't want to lose any information right here, right now, you know. So this again, right? You want to pause that up, right? Another way to do this, if you want to do it that way, is you can just do a quick pivot table. You guys use pivot tables?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do a quick pivot table here, right? And then if you're looking for this, you know, instead of looking at it that way, you can just say, all right, here's my target, right? And it'll start giving you an idea like all businesses, all businesses. You see that? Those have to be fixed, right? So, you know, sometimes what I do is I go back and we're looking at all businesses here, right? So I'm just going to take all businesses and take it down, right? So then when I go back here and I refresh, right, those things should go away, right? So now I'm just all business. So you can go down here and see what else is going on. Like these two, they need to be synthesized, you said, because these are the same thing. The problem is you got a space in here and you don't have a space in here, right? So manufacturers, you may want to kind of make this manufacturers. Now this is an interesting one, right? So you got this one is manufacturers, this one is manufacturers and suppliers, right? So you want the manufacturers to be consistent, right? But you don't want to lose the suppliers bit either, right? And you're going to have this issue coming up again in different fields here and there, where you're going to have more than one value in the field, right? So since this is a target, you could potentially have a program that has multiple targets, right? And so that's going to be a problem when you sort this. What's going to happen eventually is we're going to move probably all of this into a different table, and we're going to give this guy two records in that table, right? One that says manufacturers, one that says suppliers, okay? We don't want to do it just yet, because if we do that right now, we're going to wind up repeating a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So we'll get to that later, but it's something, for now, we can kind of keep it as it is, right? A few things you might want to think about is Vermont artists here. You had artists there, so is that, should that be artists as one column, and then should we have a separate column saying sub-target or something that says Vermont, or geographical location that says Vermont? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. So we're kind of going back and forth with a lot of these fields and trying to figure out how do we sort of clean this up a little bit. A few things that I see here, for example, with the sources, right? What I would do here is you want these things to be fairly consistent. Okay. Now, if this all looks consistent here, and we can do that. We can do that here if we want. Let me take a target and look at source. Not going to be as many. And if we want to have a little bit of fun with it, we can do a little count over here as well. See how many we got. Oh, look at that. Right. So we've got. Close this up a little bit more so we can see the number. All right. So here we go. We got 14 from these guys, right? But yeah, there's all these secondary items going on over here, right? So why don't we go ahead and just remove all of these secondary items and put it into a secondary column, right? We'll just do here, and until I have a better name for it, I'm going to call this source B, right? Now, what I'm going to do here to kind of deal with this, are you familiar with the text to columns functionality here?
You talked about it in the previous video, yes.
Ah, we did, yeah. Okay, so you know all about that. So I'm just going to take this. The only thing is, if you try to do text to columns here, it's going to wind up going into the rightward column here. So when I do it, it's better to kind of copy the whole thing to a different column. Okay, there we go. Right. So pick a place where you have no more columns to the right, right? Because it's going to start filling those in, right? And what you've got here is a dash as your delimiter. Right, so we're going to just go ahead and do that. Limited as a dash. I hope that doesn't screw me up. Oh, it might. Let's do this because you got dashes in a bunch of other places. You don't want to do that. Right, so let's see. Oh, looks okay. All right, close this up maybe. Yeah. All right. Okay, and take that, pull that down, that should be all right. And then we got that, and then let's see, did anything wind up on the third column? No, okay, good. All right, so now we can just take these two columns again and paste it into there. And now we've got our source B, subsource or whatever, okay? And again, we can go back and refresh this, right, and see what we got. Oh, look at that, much easier, huh? Okay, now we can even look at it bigger, right? So let's see what we got. Look at it that way. We got a bunch of stuff from Addison County. Anything else you want to do? Maybe this one. You might want to, because we got the same we got the same URL here. This is both from ACCD, right? Or the other thing that you can do is I think you probably have that somewhere already. Here's the organization part of it, right? So maybe it's taken care of in there, right? We don't have to. We can kind of leave this here. So let's look at organization. All right. And again, okay. So now you've got these things here, right? What's happening here is you've got spaces in the front of them, right? Mm-hmm. So another quick thing you can do is use the trim function to get rid of that, right? So go back here, close this up. This is messing me up. All right, so I'm gonna go here and just paste, insert the copied cells there, and the function is equals trim, right? This thing, and what it'll do is get rid of any spaces before or after, right? That thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so boom and done, right? And then I'm going to take this and copy it over to here and paste values, right? And I can get rid of this. Okay, hopefully that'll do it. There we go. Okay, so okay, so some of these things you're going to want to fill out, right? So that's the same thing, right? Madison County Economic Development. Right. I mean, with the kind of fairly smaller database, you can probably just go ahead and eyeball it. You don't really need to use the pivot table function. Food and markets, that one's off. Okay. All right. This is the joy of data cleansing. County Commerce and Commerce Community Development. All right, so this looks like it's got two different things going on here, right? So let's go ahead and separate that out. And again, you know, as a placeholder, you know, I can just call this org B for the moment, and then we'll figure out what we want to do with that. So here we want to get rid of this Vermont League of Cities and Towns. We're going to put that over here, right? And then these need to be put together, and this one, those are the same as well, right? So we'll do that. Right. Okay, so you get the hang of it, right? It's just going through and just systematically sort of cleaning everything up. One thing I like to do just to make things look better is just standardize all the fonts. You know, so if you're using Calibri, that's fine, right? And Calibri 11, that's fine. Okay, there. So now it just looks a little bit cleaner. You know, we don't have different fonts going on. Makes it a little bit easier to look at. So that's pretty much it. As you're entering new items, you're just basically doing this over and over again, thinking about what other columns can I put in here, where what I can do is I can fill in that information for other records that are in there, right? You're probably going to want, like, you know, you want to think about, let's say when you have support here, right? Okay, right. If it's an amount, right? If you've got an amount like that, that's probably something that you would like to be able to sort on, you know, from a high amount to a small amount, right? So, you know, maybe you want to put something in here that says amount. Sweet. You know, so we can take all the ones that are a dollar value. Okay. All right, what we can do is something like that. So we can do a little text filter search where it contains dollar, right? There we go, right? So we can take these and kind of move that over. And we'll call this grants. $250,000. Is this a grant? Okay, go back and see whether this is a grant, because $250,000 is a pretty big grant.
Yeah.
Now again, where we are here, right, is that we still can't really sort it because we've got ranges here. So what we might think about here is something about, let's call this, let's say a min amount, right, and a max amount. Okay, and then we can do this. So it was just 250 to 1,000. This was 1,000 was the max. 10,000 was the max. Less than 25,000, so 25,000 was the max. 2,000 was the max. 500 was the max, right? And we've got 250,000 here, and go. We can turn that into 250, 5,000. I don't know, 0, I suppose, and then 500, right? This is a 0, right? And this is we don't know what that is, right? So we'll go back and we can figure those out. But you get the point, right? I mean, you can take that, or put dollars in front of that. You can do that too, right? It just makes it a little bit easier to kind of see what's going on, right? The highest to lowest. Now we had, I think one of them had some other thing that it said. Hold on, let me go back and do this. That's the one, right? This, you don't want to get rid of it right now. Let's just put this here as a thing for the moment, and just go back. And this will be 5,000 and 0 and 500 and 0, right? And there we go. Okay. All right. And let's see. Hide this data. Let's clear that up. See how it looks like. So, now, what we're trying to do as much as you can is to standardize this stuff, right? So that you can, so you can run around and count it, So now we've got support. Let's say we're looking at support. Okay, a bunch of different things going on. This is kind of unwieldy, you know what I mean? It's hard to kind of make some sense of what's going on here, right? So we're trying to do this in a way that's gonna help us out here, right? So let's say again, you can do, you're looking at all the grants, right? Let's look at grant. Okay, all right, there we go. So all of this is just gonna cost grant. Oops. Grant, and this, let's get rid of this. Again, park it in where's my notes? In my notes here, so park it there, and we'll worry about that later. Okay, as we're going. Let's clear this. See what else here. So you can you have a little trimming action going on here as well, isn't it? There's some spaces over here, so that's a nice thing to go in and clean up. Debt program. All right, so you can look in here and see. All right, well, what else might we want? How else might we want to do this? All right. Stay safe assessment form. Yeah, a lot of these things don't really look that much like tax credits. So that's interesting. Right? Maybe we should look at that. Right. So when you find something that might have something else, right? It might have other items. Then see if you can find stuff. Yeah, there's a couple, right? So not assessed penalties on these tax, refundable tax credit, reimburse private employers tax credits. All right. Okay, so we can take these. We'll do this right now. If you remember, we were doing this before, just making a new column to park something in while we finish stuff. So I'm going to do this. So I have all the old stuff and just call this tax related somehow, right? Right, and this can support. We put that there. Okay. And so, and that's all it is, man. This isn't, it's not hard to do. It's just, it's just being meticulous and going through and figuring out how we're going to kind of organize all of this stuff, right? And so, what you want to do is think about, how am I going to use these things, right? So we're going to be sorting it, we're going to be counting it. You want people to be able to browse by it, to search by it, that sort of thing, right? So as you're going through, have you already entered the stuff from the sources we were talking about before?
The 3 major sources.
The 3 ones, yeah. They're all done.
I don't know. I think link should be done, I guess, and mine is done as well. But I also find some resource pages, as I told you before.
That's exactly what's going to happen, right? So once you start going in on the hunt and doing stuff, you'll find new stuff, right? And as you find it, you put them in there, right? So Addison County, this is the Economic Development Council. This is the chamber, right? 25. And was this the other one, ACCD?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the other one. Yeah, and there's a couple of other things that you found over there. That's fine. Okay, well, yeah, this Addison County EDC, maybe you want to combine. Well, one way to do it is to just say, where do you have this as organization already? Oh, this is not, okay, let's call this the source org, right? Instead of the source org, and let's call this the support org. Right, this is the organization that's giving the support, and this is where we actually found the source. Okay, so we could take this and we can call this ACCD. This is all AC chamber. This is, oh no, sorry, this is the Economic Development Council, right? This is ACEDC. This is the chamber. Right, and we can call this URL, right, just to make it easier. Let's put this up here. Now this is a bit of an issue. When you put something before, it gets rid of the filter portion of it. You see that? There's no little arrow up there. So if that happens, be careful about this, because now if you sort, it's not going to sort this first column. It doesn't have an arrow in there, right? So let's go ahead and redo the filter here. Okay, if we're going to be redoing the filter, we probably need to redo the pivot table, which is fine. Okay, great. Now, what would be great to do is, now that you have this, okay, now that you have this, I'll probably wind up recoding this as other, just because there's just 1111, that sort of thing. Now, once you have this, you can start, doing a little bit of analysis on this, looking at things like, okay, well, if these are my sources, this is what I got. How many do I have? That's, let's say, for different targets, right? Okay. Now you see the problem, right? It's really hard to decipher what's going on here. Okay, so it's very nice if you can do this and say, well, look, we've got, well, 21 of them are blank. That's one thing we need to figure out, right? So we need to get some targets in there. 16 are from all business. 13 of them are from ACEDC, right? Some are small business, and so on, right? Going down here. But this is just too much to kind of get your head around, right? It'd be nice if this was somewhere like, let's say, about like 10 categories or something. You know what I mean? Right. Now, one thing that we did, if you recall from the Ms. work, Xiaoyu, right, is when we did have a lot of this, another way of doing it, as besides just sort of standardizing these things, is we can make a different column, right? And that's kind of a higher level column. You know what I mean? So we might have one column that says businesses, right? And then a second column that says all or small or private or whatever, right? As opposed to things that are not really business oriented, like artists or whatnot. So let's say we're going to target. Let's make sure I'm clear here, right? We're going to target, and again, we'll call this target B, right? So I can take my original here, find anything that has business, right? And I'll just call this business. Right? I still have all the details right here if I need to go into it, right? So I don't want to lose any of that, right? But it makes it a lot easier to kind of get my hands around what's going on, right? So we can go back here, right? Let's redo that. Okay, now much easier to deal with, right? 27 business. At some point, you probably want to go back and figure out what all these blank things are, right? Now you can look in there. Now, private employers is a business. This is a business. So there's a lot of different businesses going on here, right? You can even look at some of the other things here, right? Now, artist was another one that came in, right? So let's contain artist, right? There we go, artist, right? Clear that. How does this look now? All right, now we got some artists. Okay, ooh, arts organizational. Let's just call this arts. Oops, arts. There. All right. Okay, now we got culture. So we could call this arts. Arts and culture, right? To capture both of those things. And we're not really all that interested in arts and culture and all this other stuff, right? So we might even do another column where all of that stuff is just non-business. So farmers and ranchers are businesses, individuals, no, manufacturers are businesses, those are businesses, private employers are businesses, right? Safety and health of workers is a business. This is also business. Specialty crops is a business. Okay. Employee safety and health is a business. Business lending, that's business, right? So all these things are businesses. And once you start doing that, you've got nonprofits, right? Nonprofits. I'm not sure what this means. Is this for municipalities? I'm going to call this other for now. Remote workers. Let's call this other for now. Right, everything down here. And let's call this individuals, right? Both are here. Although if it's a sole proprietor, that is sort of a business. So what do we call this? Business for now, and we'll rethink that. And now we go back and we've got this, right? So the blanks we need to put in, we see some arts and culture, some individuals and nonprofits. But really, we're kind of in business, and now we want to kind of break this down, this business part of it down a little bit more. We can already do that based on what we've got. Okay, well, let's just look at the business for now. Okay, and here we can start thinking about how do we want to organize these. So all businesses is all businesses, that's fine, right? So employer of all businesses look like all businesses, fine. Okay. So you might call this agricultural. All right. Agricultural. This will leave for now. All right. Probably this might wind up going to eligibility. Standardize those. Right. So yeah. So you can see, right. There's just a lot of kind of judgment calls here. But what you're looking for ultimately is something that's going to be manageable, something that you can something that you can analyze and say, this is what's going on. We got 2 for ag, we got 18 that are non-specific, we got a couple for food service, that sort of thing, right? And this is the type of thing that you're going to wind up having, in your interface, right? So I'm a business. What kind of businesses are there? This is this. I click on that. That'll go there. You know what I mean? So the idea is, the idea of all of this stuff is you think about the end product, right? Think about the thing that you're trying to produce at the end of the day, right? And then see if what you've got here, right? Push it all the way as far as you can to, if you try to make an interface right now with the information that you have, what might it look like? How might you want to use it? Okay, so like we were doing, if I want to say, okay, which are the target? Well, I got 27 different targets, so that's not really helping me. I need to consolidate that. I need to sort of rationalize that somehow. Okay, and that's going to keep on happening. So that's that's individual fields that we're talking about. Then, and these are, I picked some of the easier fields. And as you go in here, there's all sorts of other fields that are going on. Right, you can see in this contact, you probably want to separate those out into a contact person, a contact phone number, a contact email, and a contact URL, right? So we're not mixing up, all of those different things, okay? So like, Fred Kenny, that's going to be Fred Kenny here, right? That sort of thing. So that's just the thing to play around with, and that's how you're going to get these things better.